Hello everyone, Solomon Bart here, and welcome to the last installment of Happy Sulli-Days. Well, Christmas may be over, but we still got the new year to come. And what better way to bring in the old and end the new than with one of Disney's biggest hits that ends up getting a backlash very recently. And I am looking over the original story that this film is inspired by. It is a simply titled movie known as Frozen. The movie is inspired by the story The Snow Queen by Hans Christian Andersen, which has been adapted a few times before. But like I said, the movie doesn't follow the original story at all. There are a few moments from the original that are in this film, but it's not enough to compare the two. So just judge the movie as it is. There are two sisters named Anna and Elsa who live in Arendelle, with Anna being a princess who's very optimistic and likes to have fun, and Elsa who's to become queen but is also born with powers that bring snow and ice. And during Elsa's coronation as queen, Anna meets a prince named Hans, and both quickly fall in love and decide to get married. But Elsa refuses to give her blessing to the marriage, which brings Anna to understand why, which in turn causes Elsa to let out her powers and run away, accidentally putting Arendelle in an eternal winter. So Anna goes out to find Elsa while also coming across an ice cutter and seller named Kristoff and his reindeer Sev, as well as a snowman named Olaf. So without comparing the original, I can honestly say that I too am a part of the backlash. Not because of the hype, not because there's some other people who enjoy it more than others, but because of the fact that it is uninteresting and kind of boring. First of all, the story has some problems. The opening has Elsa and Anna playing until Elsa almost kills Anna with her powers, which has the king and queen take Anna to the trolls, who erase her memory of Elsa's powers, and thus the king and queen kept Elsa away from Anna and of the outside world. Okay, I know Elsa's kept away so she can control her powers and won't harm anyone, but why keep Anna in the castle? She hasn't done any harm. There's no reason to keep her away from society. Also, the king mentions that Elsa is born with her powers. Well then, how did she get them? Saying it's a birth defect is a poor excuse, and I can let it pass since it's a fairy tale, but it's such a bothersome moment that's just bizarre. And the other thing is the villain, who's revealed at the end. At first it looks like the Duke of Weselton is going to be the villain, but then the real villain turns out to be Hans, the prince that Anna falls in love with. And somehow, his reveal and plan makes no sense and is hard to follow. Why start him out as a good guy and have him make the same likes as Anna has? Why have him not harm Elsa at her ice castle when in fact they're going to kill her anyway? And how and why would killing Elsa, aside from ending the eternal winter, would get you to the throne? This is a kind of character that is both pointless and complex. But surely, the other characters have to be good. Well, they're fine, but not by much. Sometimes they bring plenty of comedy into it, but it's not all that funny. Some of them would give me a smile, but that's about it. Even with the side characters and comic relief doing little funny bits here and there, there's just nothing to laugh about because I can't get into the characters really well. They have nice designs and all, but there's nothing else to them. And speaking of designs, there's another thing to go over, along with the animation. While the animation is pretty looking and kind of good, even for the winter settings, the designs are another story. Remember when people complained that Elsa's design is similar to Rapunzel from Tangled? Well, most of the designs are similar to Tangled. They are just slightly altered. But the biggest design that I find familiar is the North Mountain where Elsa builds her ice castle. But what could be so familiar about it? Well, it's pretty simple. It's Mount Crumpet! I know it's not the exact mountain and it's in a different location, but look at it! Just look at it! Every time I see this mountain, I keep on expecting the Grinch to appear at any moment. 3,000 feet up the side of North Mountain, she climbed to sing a song that's really not forgotten. And yes, let's go over the songs that are in this film. While they do have good tunes, they have lyrics that are kind of forgettable, even for a Disney film. And while most Disney films have like 5 songs and 1 or 2 reprises, this one has 8 songs and 2 reprises. And some of them are pointless and even slow the film down, like the Trolls song and In Summer. However, the other songs do keep the film going, like Do You Want to Build a Snowman and Let It Go. But again, the lyrics are somewhat forgettable. Not to mention that they were written by the same song team who did Winnie the Pooh. But even that was better. And the actors who voice the characters are pretty okay. Kristen Bell voices Anna, India Menzel voices Elsa, Jonathan Groff voices Kristoff, Josh Gad voices Olaf, Santino Fontana voices Hans, and Alan Tudyk voices the Duke of Whistleton. As a whole, this movie is really not interesting or enjoyable. The characters are fine, but not by much. The story, while having almost nothing to do with the original Snow Queen, is not engaging. The songs are somewhat forgettable, and some are pointless, and while the animation is somewhat good and pretty to look at, it's not enough to save it. Directors Chris Buck and Jennifer Lee made a film that isn't all that spectacular or special. And with there being a backlash against this film now, after 2 years since the film's release, I wouldn't say it's a bad film, I'd just say it's kind of boring. And I also wouldn't blame the hype for the film's success, since there isn't anything fascinating to take from this. It's nowhere near being a Disney classic, and it certainly isn't now. So today, this movie will be given a rating of 2.5 minus stars. So that is it for Happy Sulli-Days. Thank you for joining me. Like, comment, subscribe. Follow me on Facebook or Twitter. Tune in next year for some new videos. And have a Happy New Year. And I am looking over the original story that this film is inspired by. It is the simply titled film known as My Nose.